Unconscious prejudices shape our actions in ways we rarely notice, yet their impact on mental health care can be profound. Welcome to this companion episode for Therapy Training's 2 Hour Implicit Bias Awareness Training. So, what can you expect to learn in this episode? We'll define implicit bias and discuss its potential impact on clinical judgment and client interactions. We'll also explore tools and strategies to identify and mitigate these biases, ultimately promoting equitable and inclusive mental health care. Lastly, we'll address some common misconceptions surrounding implicit bias and provide you with thought-provoking insights to take away. Let's start with the basics. What is implicit bias? Implicit bias refers to the attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. Unlike explicit bias, which we are aware of and can control, implicit bias sneaks in without our conscious awareness. It's like an uninvited guest that shows up at the party of our minds, influencing our thoughts and behaviors without us even realizing it. Now, you may be wondering, how does this relate to mental health care? Well, implicit bias can shape our clinical judgments and interactions with clients in profound ways. For instance, research has shown that mental health professionals may unconsciously hold biases based on a client's race, gender, socioeconomic status, or even their appearance. This can lead to disparities in treatment recommendations, misdiagnoses, or even a lack of empathy in therapeutic relationships. Imagine a scenario where a therapist, influenced by bias, might perceive a client of a different background as less motivated or less capable of change. This perception, rooted in bias, could limit the effectiveness of treatment and undermine the client's progress. By recognizing and addressing our implicit biases, we can improve our interactions with clients, foster more effective therapeutic alliances, and ultimately enhance client outcomes. Now, you might be thinking that sounds daunting. How do I even begin to recognize these biases? Great question. The course offered by Therapy Trainings provides a variety of tools and strategies to help you identify and mitigate implicit biases in your practice. One effective approach is self-reflection. Taking the time to examine your own beliefs and assumptions can be incredibly revealing. Consider keeping a bias journal, where you can write down situations in which you felt a strong reaction to a client or a case. What was your emotional response? What thoughts crossed your mind? Reflecting on these experiences can help you uncover any underlying biases that may influence your practice. Another strategy is to seek feedback from colleagues or supervisors. Engaging in open discussions about biases and how they may manifest in your work can create a culture of awareness and accountability. Think of it as a collaborative effort to shine a light on those implicit biases lurking in the shadows. Additionally, diversifying your client base is a powerful way to confront your biases. Working with clients from different backgrounds can challenge your preconceived notions and broaden your understanding of diverse experiences. It's like adding new colors to your palette as a painter. The more diverse your experiences, the richer your perspective. Now let's transition into discussing the impact of implicit bias on therapeutic relationships. Trust and empathy are the cornerstones of effective therapy. When biases go unchecked, they can create barriers to building those essential elements. If a client senses that their therapist holds biased views, it can erode trust and create a feeling of disconnection. Consider the case of a young woman seeking therapy for anxiety. If her therapist unconsciously holds biases about her cultural background, it might affect the therapist's ability to fully understand her experiences or empathize with her struggles. This disconnect can hinder the therapeutic process and leave the client feeling invalidated. In the 2 Hour Implicit Bias Awareness Training course, we explore techniques to cultivate awareness of our biases and their potential impact on client relationships. One approach is to practice active listening. When clients share their stories, it's crucial to listen without judgment or preconceived notions. This not only helps us understand their experiences better, but also fosters a sense of safety and validation for the client. Creating a safe space for clients means acknowledging and addressing our own biases. This isn't about blaming ourselves or feeling guilty. It's about taking responsibility for our role in the therapeutic process. The more we can confront our biases, the better equipped we are to provide equitable and inclusive mental health services. Now, let's take a moment to address some common misconceptions about implicit bias. One misconception is that acknowledging implicit bias means we are bad people. In reality, everyone has biases. It's a natural part of being human. What matters is our willingness to recognize and address them. Another misconception is that implicit biases are fixed and unchangeable. Research shows that biases can be unlearned and mitigated through awareness and intentional action. Just like we might challenge harmful thoughts or behaviors in therapy, we can also work to challenge our biases. Lastly, some may think that discussing implicit bias is solely about race. While racial bias is a significant aspect, implicit bias manifests in various forms, including gender, age, and socioeconomic status. It's crucial to approach this topic with a broad lens, recognizing the many ways biases can influence our work. As we wrap up our discussion, let's reflect on the importance of addressing implicit bias in our practices. By cultivating awareness of our biases, we can enhance our clinical judgment, improve client interactions, and promote equitable mental health care for all individuals. Here's a thought for you. What if by taking steps to recognize and mitigate our biases, we could change the trajectory of a client's life? What if we could create a more inclusive and supportive environment for all? The potential is immense. I encourage you to take this conversation beyond our podcast. Explore the resources available through therapy trainings, including the 2 CE-hour Implicit Bias Awareness Training course. Let's commit to being proactive in our understanding and addressing of implicit bias. As mental health professionals, we have an incredible opportunity to make a positive impact on our clients and the communities we serve. By fostering awareness and promoting equitable practices, we can build stronger therapeutic alliances rooted in trust and empathy. Thank you for joining me today in this important conversation about implicit bias. Remember, awareness is the first step towards change. Let's work together to create a mental health landscape that is equitable, inclusive, and supportive for everyone. For more information on this topic and other courses, visit therapytrainings.com. Together, we can make a difference.